Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at our first writing narrative passage. It's called Demystifying Digestion. As always, we're going to be looking at all 11 questions here, the entire passage, so you get an idea of how to approach these writing narrative questions and are ready to ace the SAT writing and language section. If you haven't already, check out the videos on the writing argument and writing informative passages, the other two types of writing passages that will show up on the SAT writing and language section. If you like these videos or find them informative, please be sure to like and subscribe. And with that, let's get started on our first question. What types of food are most easily digested? And our question is, in order to help make the abstract topic of digestion accessible to a broad audience, the writer wants to introduce it with a specific commonplace example. Which choice best accomplishes this purpose? So, what types of food are most easily digested? That is not very specific, so we're going to get rid of that answer. What role do our digestive organs play in our general physical health? It says it right there, it's general, not specific. What roles do our intestines play in the process of digestion? That is not very commonplace, right? Like if you walked up to a random person and asked them about intestines, you'd probably get like a blank stare or something, right? This is not a commonplace example, right? So it's not even specific about anything that we're going to be talking about here in digestion. And then the last one we have, how do our bodies extract energy from a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Well, that seems commonplace, right? Everyone knows what that is. And it's a specific example, how do they extract energy from a certain type of food, one type of food? So that is going to be our specific commonplace example. That's our answer. Let's move on to our next question. At first, at first glance, the process by which food fuels our daily activities might seem inexplicable. However, upon closer examination, digestion, the breakdown of food into small components to provide the body with necessary nutrients and energy, is a chemical and mechanical process with a consistent sequence of steps. Alright, so let's see about this part by itself, right? Or not with the A's in the digestion. Just the breakdown of food into smaller components to provide the body with necessary nutrients and energy. If we take that part out, our sentence becomes, however, upon closer examination, digestion is a chemical and mechanical process with a consistent sequence of steps. That sentence fits, that sentence works, right? That is a completely grammatically correct sentence if we even take out that entire middle part, meaning that that part in between the two dashes is going to be a non-essential element. What does that mean? Well, a non-essential element is just one that is obviously you can take it out and the sentence will still be grammatically correct, right? And what that means is when we have a non-essential element, we have to bound it on the both sides, the beginning and the end, with the same type of punctuation. So either we use commas, dashes, or parentheses. Either we have a comma on both sides, a dash on both sides, or a parentheses on both sides. Here we have a dash on both sides, so that seems to work. Right, so this no change option is looking like it should work, but let's look at our other answer choices. Here we have digestion colon and then a period. I mean a colon and a comma. That doesn't work. Here we have a semicolon and then nothing with an extra comma in there for some reason. It also does not work. Here we have two dashes, but when we're starting the non-essential clause, we have a comma and we're ending it with with nothing really. We're ending it with nothing over here. But we have these random dashes in here, right? So this doesn't work, right? Because if you take these dashes as a non-essential element, you get digestion, comma, the breakdown of food and energy. Well, digestion doesn't break down energy, so that doesn't work. So this also is incorrect, and our answer stays as choice A. Keep going. So it's a chemical and mechanical process with a consistent sequence of steps, and we're trying to establish the main topic of this paragraph, so let's read the entire paragraph. Chewing first involves putting food inside the mouth, where the grinding of teeth and secretion of saliva start to break down the physical and chemical composition of food. Once the food has been transformed into a compact mass referred to as the bolus, it is swallowed and passes through the esophagus, a muscular tube connecting the throat to the stomach. Although the initial act of swallowing is voluntary, the lower third of the esophagus is made up completely of smooth muscle, over which the individual has no conscious control. The lower third attaches to the stomach, a hollow muscular organ, which then digests food both by crushing it mechanically and secretes digestive enzymes and other fluids that break down starches and proteins. The contents are then released into the small intestine. Alright, so essentially the main topic of this paragraph is the process of digestion and how it starts in the mouth and it goes all the way down. We're moving on to the small intestine by the end of the paragraph. Right? So we're seeing the process of digestion. Well, it starts in the mouth. That looks like answer choice B. Right? Chewing first involves putting food inside the mouth. Has nothing to do with this whole process. And then these two are again completely unrelated, off topic. They don't work. Let's keep going. All right, chewing first, or the process of digestion begins in the mouth, where the grinding of teeth and secretion of saliva start to break down the physical and chemical composition of food. Once the food has been transformed into a compact mass referred to as a bolus. Oh, we're talking about a mass. Compact really refers to objects, which is what one of these is. Succinct usually refers, succinct, summary, and abbreviated really refer to words or a speech of some kind, so none of these will work. And a compact is the right one because we use a compact to describe objects. We don't use succinct or summary or abbreviated to describe objects. We use them to describe stuff like a speech, right? A speech or an announcement or something. Let's keep going. Although the initial act of swallowing is voluntary, the lower third of the esophagus is made up completely of smooth muscle, over which an individual has no conscious control. This lower third attaches to the stomach, a hollow muscular organ which then digests food, both by crushing mechanically and that secretes digestive enzymes and other fluids that break down starches and proteins. So this is the stomach, a singular, that's singular right there, so this has to be singular. Now if you remember, verbs are weird. If you have a verb with an S on the end, that makes it singular. If you have a verb without an S on the end, it's plural, the opposite of noun. So since the stomach is singular, we need a singular verb. A singular verb is going to end with an S on it, so we need a digest. Because digest, if it doesn't have the S, digest, it's plural. I know it's weird, but it's just think of it as the opposite of noun. And then I have clause 6, and secretes digestive enzymes and other fluids that break down starches and proteins. This is a kind of parallel structure question. Right? We have, which then digests food both. So this example right here, the first part and the second part have to have the same parallel structure. So here we have by crushing it. So this has going to be something like by secreting, something like that, by secreting it, something like that, right? So we see by secreting, right? We have the by here that has to be repeated. We have the ing that tells us what kind of tense it is, and we find that in by secreting, and that is our answer. And then we have the last sentence here. The contents are then released into the small intestine, and we're trying to get rid of the sentence or not. Let's see. So the sentence, the next like the first sentence right here talks about the small intestine, right, and what the small intestine does. So really, this is just a transition between this mouth and the stomach part, and then moving into the intestine. That's what's going on right here. Right, we're going from the preliminary steps in digestion to actually getting the nutrients down. If it will work for me, down here. Right, so it's a transition. Right, so we're going to keep it. It's not providing necessary information about the esophagus. It's a transition. Right, it's a transition from this part down to this part, and our answer is choice C. Let's keep going. All right, down here, question number 8. So we can see. Let's read this whole thing first, though. Although all organs in the gastrointestinal tract are important for digestion, the majority of nutrient absorption occurs in the small intestine, which is a long, hollow tube arranged into a compressed mass around the center of the abdomen. On the inner surface, this organ is lined with specialized cells arranged into finger-like villi and circular plicae that facilitate the transfer of important nutrients being transported into the bloodstream. This is repetitive. It says transfer and then it says transported. Right, so what we really want here is we want to say transfer, we want to say important nutrients, and we already say bloodstream, so we don't want to say bloodstream. We just want to say transfer and important nutrients. Transfer and important nutrients right there. We don't need transfer of important and crucial nutrients. Important and crucial is repetitive. But here the transfer is repetitive. Here we're saying bloodstream. We already said bloodstream right here. Repetitive. This is a precision and concision question. And in these questions, you always look for the shortest answer that still works. Alright, let's go down here. Small intestine is divided into 3 parts: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Well, we're listing out items in a series right here, right? So since we're listing them out in a series, we have to separate that. We have to separate that here using a colon. So, and a colon is that one, and that is going to be our answer. Right, we're not going to use a colon here or here, since this is not part of the list of the duodenum, the jejunum, the ileum. You can't use a colon there. And the semicolon is not correct because you don't want to split it into two completely different sentences. Because you're using this to set up this part. Alright, let's move on. In the duodenum, digestive juices from the pancreas and gallbladder enter through an opening referred to as the ampulla of Vater. These juices break down carbohydrates, lipids, and polypeptides into simpler molecules. The jejunum then links the duodenum to the ileum, where the majority of nutrient absorption takes place. Instead, the remaining materials move into the large intestine, where water and salts continue to be absorbed. So let's see, it's this part, right? It's not a contrast to this part. So you're not going to use the word instead, which is a contrast word, or however, which is also a contrast word. And then you have either in addition or from there. Well, it's a different topic, so you can't use the word in addition. You use the word from there, since we're starting from the ileum and we're saying from there, this happens. Once you got to this point, something else happened. So it's just a continuation instead of a similarity. So our answer is D, from there. And we can move on to the last question. Once in the bloodstream, nutrients from the digestive tract travel through the cardiovascular network to the liver and then to many different areas of the body. The energy from cellular division to muscle contraction contained in these molecules can then be used to activate a number of biological processes. Well, let's see. The cellular division and muscle contraction is not the energy itself, so that doesn't work, so that's incorrect. Since the energy contained in this molecule is from cellular division to muscle contraction, this is still not this energy. This cellular division and muscle contraction are the biological processes. So they should go after the words biological processes. They're not the energy, as we see energy contained, energy contained. They're used to activate a number of biological processes from cellular division to muscle contraction. That is the correct modifier. Alright, that is it for this passage. Be sure to tune next time when we continue doing writing narrative passages. But that is it for our first writing narrative passage, and I'll see you next time.